Well, it's me again. Good afternoon, 4:44 p.m. my time. It might be morning yours, so therefore good morning or good evening, whatever time you happen to be listening. You've not heard me by myself for the last 2 days. I had Jagamara a couple days ago and Aristo yesterday, and those videos were very well received. It was interesting that Aristo actually made a lot of commentary on Jagamara, the Jagamara conversation that we had. Anyway, I'm going to go back pretty much where I was before those two conversations. And the title that I've chosen for today's video, which is actually tomorrow's, is Intolerance is a Damning Ego-Driven Mental Disorder. A quotation by Max Born was posted on my Facebook wall in response to another posted quote by Elvis Presley, who said, "Truth is like the sun. You can shut it out for a time, but it ain't going away." Max said, quote, "The belief that there is only one truth and that oneself is in possession of it is the root of all evil in the world." End quote. As long as men and women have pondered life, the question, what is truth, has been at the core of our existence. Of all the creatures on earth, I believe only humans ask this question. Whenever one's truth becomes a dogmatic meme that makes everyone wrong that sees a different truth, intolerance ensues, often leading to violence and war. This is not about eating or religion or any other polarized idea. It is about an attitude which, when we don't adjust it, we destroy ourselves. There are some hot button issues that you can't even mention them without creating a firestorm. And the issue is never the issue. The issue is our intolerance to one another, our unwillingness to see a point of view that's different than our own. That lies at the core of every broken life, every broken relationship, every broken business transaction, or business venture, I should say. At the core of all human society, the tendency of humans to say, I'm right and you're wrong, is the bane of civilization. It is at the core, at the root of all of the injustices, all of the misunderstandings, all of the intolerance. I can't think of a better word. We're not going to be able to be compassionate to one another if we can't first be tolerant of one another's ideas and allow each person to be wherever he or she is without getting on a soapbox and making them wrong for their viewpoint. The only thing that's wrong is our tendency to do this. That's what's wrong. And it doesn't matter what the issue is. It doesn't matter what the hot button is. When we polarize over a hot button issue, we are in a destructive mode that will not bode well for enlightenment, for awakening, or for any other positive change that we can bring to the planet. We cannot create peace on earth when we're constantly telling the other person you're wrong. We can't do it. The only thing that somebody is wrong for is for judging somebody else. You don't know enough to judge another, and if you did, you wouldn't. When you judge someone, this is a message that I have to get. I'm not preaching something to you that doesn't preach to me way louder. And I have to learn it with my grandkids and with people that I interact with on a more intimate level than I've been interacting with anybody for a long time. I have to learn to be tolerant. My family does, my daughter and her husband and my grandkids do not do things the same way that I do. They do not have the same value system that I do. Uh, I base a lot of what I purchase on what is the most reasonably priced. And they base it, especially when it comes to eating, on what's the healthiest alternative. And yet there's some things that I would not buy that I consider unhealthy that they do buy. And it's allowance. It's allowing people to be where they are. And I have to learn that. I'm not pointing my finger at you and saying you're wrong, but you are wrong if you're judging someone else. If you're judging someone else as being wrong, you're showing your own self-righteousness, your own spiritual pride. What do I have to say to get that through to you? It's not about whether you eat meat or whether you only eat vegetables. It's about if you eat vegetables and you think that you're the only one that's right and that everybody has to be like you, that's what's wrong. That's the attitude that's wrong. That's the attitude that needs adjusting. There are the elite, we know, those of us that are in the know, that have studied this stuff and heard it, we know that one of their euthanasian plans to destroy a huge percentage of the population is to get rid of all the useless eaters. But when I look at some of the comments of vegans and vegetarians that are militant about their viewpoint, if they could, they would eliminate meat eating altogether. They would wipe it off the face of the earth, and that means make the decision for everybody else instead of allowing people to be where they are. They make it a crusade, and it's a crusade ends up being just trying to destroy the opposing or the alternative viewpoint. You can't do that. Do you not understand that that's the root of all of the problems that we've had when some people try to impose their values and their belief system on somebody else? Animals don't do that. Plants don't do that. Rocks don't do that. Nothing else on the earth does that except humans. Why is it that we think that we have to be the one that makes the decision for everybody else? Why is it that we think we have the right and sometimes even the responsibility to convert the whole world to our point of view? What drives that mechanism in us when, for anybody that looks at it objectively, realizes how damning this is, how destructive it is? It destroys our own life when we're at war with ourselves and we're under the thumb, as it were, of someone else's belief system telling us what we can and we can't do, and we buy into it ourselves. We live a schizoid life. We divide against our own being, and it causes the destruction of our individual life because we're at war with ourselves. But the war isn't just carried on within our own realm of selfhood. It's carried on into every relationship that we touch. We try to gather to us those people that agree with our point of view so that we can attack, often, people that have the opposite point of view. Why can't both points of view be allowed until we reach enlightenment? Until we reach that point where we realize that none of us know enough to judge someone else because we're not walking in their moccasins, we're not standing in their shoes, and we simply don't know where they're coming from. We have adopted a religious idea that binds us to destruction instead of liberating us from that ego-driven attitude and allowing us to move into a more compassionate frame of mind where we simply allow each other human to be where he or she is. Now, part of the problem with the eating thing is that people want to put animals and sometimes plants and other creatures of a different realm on the same level as humans, or even looking at them as superior to humans. When I talk about anything, I'm talking about human society. I'm not talking about animal society. I'm not talking about plant society. Human society is where the issue lies, because humans are the ones that are the most destructive beings on the planet. And it doesn't mean that we're lower, less evolved. It does mean, though, that we haven't yet put the pieces together and reconciled our differences within our own self. We haven't embraced the paradoxes, and we haven't fully comprehended the interconnectedness of all life. When we do that, lots of things are going to change, but we're not there yet. And when you are constantly attacking people because of what they put on their plate, because of what they consume, when you're attacking people because they believe that Muhammad was the big one, and others believe that Jesus was the big one, and others believe that the Buddha was the big honcho, the main honcho, when we're going to fight over these things, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere. These are hot button issues that are part of the matrix put out there to challenge us. And let me just see. I can't. Carol, I'm doing a video right now. I'm doing a video right now. I can't talk. That was my ex-wife calling for my daughter. And I'm sorry I forgot to take the phone off the hook. Anyway, she doesn't get it. You know, I should have only had to say it once. Anyway, intolerance is what drives everything that's destructive on this planet. And you vegans and vegetarians, I understand how you feel. You've made it very, very clear of how you think you're right, and the problem on this earth is people eating other animals. Well, I hear you, but you're not going to create a peaceful society by continually making people wrong. You're just not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. And this idea that people are not peaceful because they eat meat is bullshit. I'm sorry, it's total bullshit. There are very peaceful people that are very loving and very compassionate toward others that eat meat. Now that's just the reality that I have witnessed personally. It doesn't make people violent by eating meat. And when you put that into the equation, you're simply lying to yourself. You're telling yourself lies to bolster your particular point of view. And it's simply wrong. It's simply wrong that that's the case. There are peaceful people, spiritual people all over the planet that eat meat. And that's the reality. And it's been the reality for a long time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Maybe it will at some point in the future as we evolve, as we learn more about how to sustain ourselves with other types of eating, or maybe with no eating at all. But we're not there yet. Be tolerant, be loving toward each other, be compassionate, please. It's you that believe you're the only ones that are right and are trying to convince everyone else that they have to see it your way and do it your way. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the crux of all of the challenges in our world come from. And we need to get beyond it, folks. I plead with you, please. Have your ideas. I'm not going to tell you what to eat or what to drink or even what spiritual master to believe in. I'm not going to tell you that, because I see that that's where the problem is. And so I'm not going to add fuel to the fire. I'm not going to do that. I'm just trying to get each of you to a place where you can accept the other point of view without going on the war path within yourself and attacking them, whoever they happen to be. We have to get beyond this tendency in ourselves. As I said, it is a damning, ego-driven mental disorder. And we need to be healed of this disorder if we're going to create the goal of peace on earth, of heaven on earth. We're going to have to get beyond this tendency that is so destructive. Thank you for listening. Namaste.